Good evening, everyone. Today I've got a perfume review and comparison of Roja Elysium Parfum Cologne. We will be comparing it to Roja Elysium Parfum, which have a 7.5 ml travel atomizer. So I've had Roja Elysium Parfum Cologne. It was actually my first Roja ever for quite some time now, and I got it because of obviously all the online hype about how it's amazing. To be fair, they're not wrong if this is the type of perfume you're looking for. So let's start off by talking about the presentation. Now, the Parfum Cologne bottles are the most affordable, and they're made for you and I, the people that are too broke, who want an entry point into Roger's wonderful world of perfumes. And Elysium is probably the most likely entry point for most people because it is by far, not only is it the most affordable thing that he sells, but also it's one of the most mass appealing. You could say this is the most mass appealing. I think Oceania is a bit more mass appealing, but anyway, apples and oranges doesn't really matter. So obviously I did not buy this for retail. I don't have a box. I don't know what the box is like, but it comes in this quite heavy glass bottle. It looks quite nice. The cap is this golden cap. It doesn't have any jewels on this one because obviously cutting costs for us broke people here. It does have his signature, which I'm not really that interested on. Fragrance by Roger Dove, made in England, etc. All that good stuff. You can hold it by the cap. It doesn't really click into place. It sits into place, which is never a good thing. There's no magnets or anything like that. There's no clicking mechanism. Don't do what I just did. Okay, you could drop it. Now, when it comes to the quality, I've seen some of these where the lettering has scrubbed off, which I think is really terrible. I wouldn't expect that from a designer, let alone something this expensive. The atomizer also, if you look closely, get it to focus, it's like poking up a bit. It's not like flat, right? And then it just wiggles about the place. I've never undone the atomizer or anything like that. So it just doesn't feel great. The atomizer itself, let's do a quick atomizer check, is amazing. Not as good as the Parfum bottles. They're really pressurized, some of the best in the game, but pretty decent. Oh, it's so strong. Okay. And I might as well do another spray of the Parfum now, on the other hand. I'll do two because this one sprays less to make it as fair as possible. I've had these for some time and I've worn it a lot. Okay. I've had the Parfum Travel Atomizer for less, but I've also worn it a handful of times. And I've done A to B comparisons, and some days I've just worn both just to test them out and be able to really answer the question of whether it's worth getting any of them, and if you do want to get one, which one you should get. Now, when it comes to Roja Elysium, I think it's one of the most misunderstood perfumes, to be honest with you. The bottle is one of the reasons it gets misunderstood because it is blue and it gives you the illusion of this is a blue scent, but it's a hybrid. It's a green aromatic and a blue scent at the same time. I think the blueness comes from the base, but we'll get onto that. Why is Roja Elysium so misunderstood? I think it's because obviously during COVID, Roger got, like most people, got a bit desperate, worried about his business. What am I going to do? Am I going to go broke? I doubt that. But he started handing out free bottles. And what happens is that you hand out free bottles to people and they say, one person says one thing and then everyone copies and everyone copies and it becomes some kind of truth. So everyone just said this is the best blue fragrance of all times, blah, 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 and they just went off because this is blue. And whilst this does have a lot of ambroxan, I think it's a lot more on the green aromatic side of things, to be honest with you, with some blue touches to make it more mass appealing. When it comes to the Parfum Cologne of Elysium versus the Parfum, if you go on Fragrantica and Parfumo, they have different notes, okay, which is weird because Roger and his company have said themselves that these are exactly the same formula, just in different concentration. And on their website, just confirmed before filming this, they have the exact same notes. So I think I would trust the brand versus reviewers and other people. And to be honest with you, I should have trusted the brand before I went and bought a Travel Atomizer because I can confirm these are pretty much exactly the same, just different concentration. But because of that different concentration, it does have some profound effects into longevity, performance, and how they wear and the user experience as a whole. Now, one of the reasons this is described as a blue scent is because if you just smell the atomizer, it has a very strong ambroxany kind of thing. Ambroxan is not listed. They list ambergris. There's no way this is ambergris, I'll be honest with you. There's no way. I've smelled a lot of ambergris. This is not ambergris. I've smelled a lot of ambroxan, and this is ambroxan. This is how Creed say their scents have ambergris. No, they don't. Okay, it's definitely ambroxan. Creed's thing is a lot of ambroxan, and this kind of gives me a Creed vibe, like a Green Irish Tweed or Aventus kind of vibe, in terms of the base, that ambroxan musky kind of scent. So that is pretty much the only blue thing about this. Otherwise, it's pretty much an aromatic kind of fragrance. It's not really quite a fougere. So that's why I think the Free Bottle Brigade probably never wore this. They probably just give it a quick sniff and just had to make a video, just regurgitated whatever they saw online. And that's why it's really misunderstood. Now, when you first spray this on, you get the typical beautiful Roja citruses mixed with a bit of herbaceousness. Now, when I compare the opening A to B, I think this is where a lot of the differences in terms of scent profile is in the beginning. Now, I'm not sure because I'm no perfumer, but I think obviously the concentration is the only difference according to the brand, and I can believe that. But they do wear quite differently, and I'm assuming because, let's say, I'll just give random numbers. Okay, so let's say this is 10% perfume oils, the rest is alcohol. Let's say this is 20% perfume oils, the rest is alcohol. I think the difference is if you have double the amount of citruses in the parfum and double the amount of ambroxan, doubling the citruses makes a more humongous difference to the scent profile versus doubling the ambroxan, because the ambroxan has probably hit its maximum effect, especially when it can only do so much in terms of affecting the scent profile. So I think this is the difference. So when you bring your nose really close, really up close to the Parfum Cologne, it feels like it's a lot more lively. It's more active. It's more fizzy. There's a lot more movement going on. And it almost feels like the ambroxan or the musks are like stopping you from getting your nose super close in. That's quite common with synthetic bases, I find, is that it's like they're kind of, making the formula quite fuzzy. Like you can't really pick out the details as much because they're all submerged in this ambroxan, and it's just makes it quite difficult to really pinpoint the notes. But with the parfum, in comparison, you can pick out the notes a lot better. And in regards to the opening, both have these most beautiful citruses, but the difference is that I get more like watery green notes in the parfum. By watery green, I don't mean aquatic, I mean like cucumber almost. And it's just a lot more easy to distinguish between all the different citruses. He uses quite a lot. He uses lime, lemon, orange, bergamot. He uses a lot of things. He uses juniper, etc. And you can just smell the composition a lot better in the parfum version versus the Parfum Cologne. But after the opening, really, they become exactly the same scent. This one is a lot more bombastic in its performance. It performs like an old school EDT. And if you know anything about those vintage EDTs, is that they really just go crazy in the beginning. It really pops off the skin. You get very loud projection for a few hours, and then it falls off a cliff with regards to its performance. It just dies. Okay, and I don't think it's a gracious death of performance. And that's why sometimes it becomes quite a jarring wear, especially if you put this on first thing in the morning. It's super loud, and it's so easy to spray a lot of this because you feel like it doesn't last very long, so you just spray the crap out of it. I've done times where I've sprayed this 10 times, and by the way, it doesn't affect longevity whatsoever. It just dies equally the same, and basically it becomes very bombastic. But because it's so loud in the beginning, it's a big compliment getter. I've gotten compliments from strangers when wearing this. I don't really care for compliments that much. I find them quite awkward, actually. Just like, I don't know what to say. Thank you, or cool. It's weird. Not a huge fan of them personally. But this one is definitely a compliment getter if that is what you're looking for. The parfum is not as loud, but it's moderate to begin with, but it stays moderate for longer. Whilst this one feels like it falls off a cliff. In terms of longevity, the parfum lasts a couple of hours longer. So I'd say this gives you about 5-6 hours. This maybe 6 to 7, really at a push. I have tried to modulate the fact that obviously the spray is a lot more than this by double spraying this and comparing them A to B. Another thing to note with the performance is that the Parfum holds onto its opening notes for a lot longer because it's just not evaporating off your skin as aggressively and as loudly to begin with, and it means you can enjoy it for a little bit longer. Now, when it comes to the scent profile, both of these open quite similar. The only difference is that you can smell the notes individually a little bit better in the Parfum because there's more of the opening notes. It feels like it can compete with the Ambroxan, whilst here, like, the opening notes are really just fizzy and going everywhere. And I know for a lot of people, they really enjoy that. Now, here's why I think this is misunderstood is because once you get over the Ambroxan opening, and it does feel like a bit of an Ambroxan bomb sometimes, to my nose, depending on the day, especially in the cold weather. Like, it's just, if you wear this in the winter, like, the Ambroxan really affects me. But in the summer, it's not too bad when you're outdoors. Now, when it dries down and that Ambroxan kind of just fizzles away a bit and just takes the back seat, it does smell very green and aromatic. It's not green as in vegetal or vetiver or anything like that. It's more like a green in terms of like how green Irish tweed is quite green. It's got green in the name. I don't think that's super green. It's more of a green-blue hybrid. It's more an aromatic kind of sensation. And this is the same. It's not sweet at all. It's going for that uber masculine. There's something vintagey about it and something quite old school or elderly about it. Like most Rogers, he makes them with himself in mind. So he does have a lot of herbaceous aromatic notes in there. With the green herbaceous aromatic notes, the thing that keeps this quite young and mass appealing is that ambroxy base. If you look at any Roger Parfum's note breakdown, they're always crazy. This one has a few deceptive things. It has a lot of florals listed, but I get no florals whatsoever, to be honest with you. It says it has rose and jasmine. I don't really get much of that, like, at all. All I get is the thyme, artemisia, and every citrus known to man thrown in there with a juniper and ambroxan musky base. It says it has vetiver and cypriol, but they must be there just to aid with the performance. And maybe the vetiver's there to give a green vibe, but it's definitely not a vetiver heavy scent. Once the citruses go, and that's really the party trick for this, is he just throws every citrus at you and is super fizzy because of the base. Once citruses go, it becomes quite an aromatic scent. There's not a hint of spice in this whatsoever. And I think that makes it less mature and more mass appealing to the younger crowd because he removes any kind of spiciness. He could have thrown in some clove in here. It has lavender. This could have been some kind of modern fougere, but he tried to keep it young but still appealing to everyone because the herbs, the aromatic kind of nature of it, does give you a bit more of a mature vibe. When it comes to my recommendations with Roger's Parfum versus Parfum Colognes, I've actually picked up and tested a lot of Roger recently, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of the times I much prefer the Parfum. So with the vetiver, it's a big difference. The Parfum is amazing. With Enigma or Creation E, I found the Parfum to be a lot better. I haven't tested Scandal or Danger Parfum Colognes, but from what I'm hearing, the Parfum is a lot better. Now, with Elysium is quite a challenge. I find it difficult to recommend the Parfum versus Parfum Cologne. Obviously, the Parfum comes in double the price for half the amount. So it's roughly 4 times more expensive per ml. This is half the price for double the amount. And also, the parfums are more difficult to find in discounters in the secondhand market, whilst these can be had for literally like almost the same price as Bleu de Chanel. Now, do I recommend this scent, and which one do I recommend? That depends on your use cases. If you want to use Elysium as a signature scent, as a regular scent, you can use it all year round, which you totally can. This is a 4-season wear, no problem whatsoever. High heat, very, very cold, it will do the trick. Now, if you're going to use it as a signature, it's a no-brainer. You go for the Parfum Cologne. It's better value. It's going to give you better performance in terms of what you want. If your signature scent is going to be a Roja Elysium or similar, you obviously want to smell good and you want people to smell you. Okay, go for the Parfum Cologne. It's got better performance to begin with. And to be honest with you, it's a lot cheaper, so you can reapply if you really want to. If you want to extend its wear from the 5 hours, 6 hours, longer into the day, you can just reapply. And you can because you've got 100 mils. If you like Roja Elysium's scent profile and you want to use it infrequently, and let's say you don't want to cause a lot of ruckus or attention and for everyone to really smell you, then the Parfum is the better option. The Parfum is categorically the better perfume, but the Parfum Cologne is the better product because with this scent profile, you probably want compliments, right? This is more likely to give you compliments than this because of increased sillage and it's more bombastic to begin with. And you probably want to wear this in the summer, right? You can reapply this to your heart's content because it's more affordable. I've seen this go for 120, 130 pounds. Honestly, that's not bad. 1.2 pounds per mil for this quality juice. It's better than Sauvage. It's better than Bleu de Chanel if you want a blue vibe, but this is a bit more mature. I think this is better than Green Irish Tweed, to be honest with you, and does the same kind of thing. I think Green Irish Tweed is even more ambroxany than this. Now, for me, in terms of my verdict for my uses, I've actually put this up for trade simply because the ambroxan is a bit too loud and the scent is a bit too loud to begin with, and then it falls off a cliff. The type of perfume user I am, I think this is too loud to wear at work. It gets a bit annoying for me because of the bass, so I can't really see myself signature scenting this or wearing it regularly, so it's quite an infrequent wear for me. When it comes to summer scent, I much prefer Isola Blue, Burlington 1819, which I have both, and I absolutely love and adore. They're just simply a bit more interesting, they're a bit more classy, they're a little bit more elegant, and I prefer them as a scent profile. With regards to a all-year wear, signature scent worthy for the right person scent, and in the second-hand market where you can get this for below 150 for a 100 ml bottle, I think this is a good choice. And I do recommend you sample this perfume. If you have a small collection, this is probably really good for you. If you have a big collection, you might be like me and look past this and go for something a bit more interesting because this really is a very utilitarian perfume and maybe slightly less interesting if you like. I'm keeping the travel atomizer because it's a travel atomizer. If I ever miss this or want the scent profile, I'll go for it and spray it on. Its performance being less loud kind of suits my needs a bit more because I just don't like to get unnecessary attention. And also, I'm quite sensitive to synthetic bases or super musky bases. So this gets a lot more annoying. This is quite tolerable. It feels a bit more luxurious. This is kind of more my style. And to be honest with you, I much prefer slightly more spicy Dunwich scent profiles, like a oud wood kind of scent profile, something a bit more elegant and sophisticated. This is a bit too loud for my line of work and for my personality. So that really limits its use cases. Whilst for you, that might be amazing. For me, it becomes a summer scent. So when I look at my perfume wardrobe in the summer, I just look straight past this one. I just think, not today. It's not as interesting. It's not as fun. It's not as elegant. So it's not been getting much wears, even though I've put in a fair bit of a dent. I think it's time to move this one on. Also, I think as I smelt more vintage fragrances, I've become a bit more sensitive to synthetic bases or ambroxany bases, cashmere bases, ISO Super. I actually used to smell it really well when I first started this hobby, and then for some reason I've become really bad at smelling it. So I used to be able to smell another 13, I used to be able to smell Molecular 1, Hormone Man, and now I just can't smell them. And I can definitely still smell ambroxan, but like I can smell it more than before. It becomes a bit overpowering. So that's one of the reasons why I'm passing this one on. So you can blame the vintage fragrances for that one. So yeah, that was my review of Elysium. Let me know what you think. Have you tried these? What do you think? Have you tried the Parfum Cologne? Have you tried the Parfum? What do you think about the brand in general? Let me know what you think and see you in the next one.